got $10, but only $10, but the last one is $5.
Yeah, yeah. And what was it? It was a tie, you know, like a necktie. Yeah, okay. So there are a lot of conversations. Let me go back here. That you can practice with yourself anytime you want to. So if you want, and you wanted to practice conversations that had to do with work, like applying for a job, or conversations that had to do with education, going to school.
Too late now for job. Too late.
And education's too late? No. Yeah. Here are conversations about making new friends, about spending money, dating. So, and what it does, you will the speech is at the normal rate, the normal speed that you would hear in an actual conversation. So it gives you good practice for listening and understanding. And you know, because to really get good at another language, you have to practice and practice and practice. I'm trying to learn, when I'm at home, I'm trying to learn a second language myself, Spanish, because we have a lot of Spanish speakers in America, at least in a certain part of the country. And if I just read the book, you know, and maybe listen to a tape or something like that, I'll learn a few phrases, but I don't really learn I don't learn the language with fluency. And the only way you can learn the language with fluency is to practice every day. So this is a way to do that. And this is www.esl-lab.com. And if you go back to the home page,
esl.lab.com.
Yeah. www.esl.com, and then if you just go to that website, then this is the page that you'll come up with. And then there are a number of different and what I did is I went to this one right here where it says self-study. What I can do when I do the lesson for tomorrow and I send you the notes, and when I send you the PowerPoint notes, I will send you this link, okay? I'll send you this link, and I'll send you the link for the pronunciation guide too. That way you'll have the actual correct links. So I think you'll find those helpful, when you have some spare time to practice. And you have to hear the language, and you have to speak the language. Okay? Okay. We're going to learn, going to keep, every day learn a little bit something new. Okay, every day we'll learn a little bit something new. And today we're going to practice the correct use of until and as soon as. These are words that we use to introduce clauses that tell us about when something happens. And sometimes in English we get mixed up. We use we use this phrase as soon as when we should use until, and sometimes we use until when we should be using as soon as. So we're going to practice how to get it right. All we need to remember is we use until and soon as to introduce dependent clauses. We remember what dependent clauses are. It's a group of words that has both a subject and a verb, but it has to go with a main clause. It has to go with another part of the sentence in order for it to make sense. We use until when we want to explain that an action will happen as long as. And I'll show you some examples. We use as soon as when we want to explain that an action will happen right after. So, and then anytime we use a dependent clause at the beginning of a sentence, we put a comma after it. Yeah. And I sent these notes to you last night, so you'll have these notes on your email. Here's some examples of until. When I come to the Wat in the morning, all the way up and down the street are the little pickup trucks with the big speakers, and with the election, the Thai election, everybody's announcing speakers and speakers. So until the election is over, we can expect to see many advertisements for candidates. It's the same thing in America. Always advertisements for candidates. So we will continue to see all of these advertisements until the election is over. This means that the advertisements will continue as long as we have the campaign, as long as we have the election period. So until introduces a clause that tells us that this action is going to continue as long as we have the election season. So until the election is over, we can expect to see many advertisements for candidates. Now, you don't have to put that clause at the beginning. It is just as correct, it's just as correct to put the clause at the end. So we would say we can expect to see many advertisements for candidates until the election is over. In other words, we will continue to see the advertisements for candidates as long as we are having an election. Until means as long as. And we use it to introduce a clause that explains how long something is going to happen. Now the difference is we use as soon as to mean right after. We use as soon as to mean right after. So as soon as the election is over, we will stop seeing so many advertisements for candidates. You see the difference? In this one, until is explaining as long as. In this one, as soon as is being used to explain right after. So, as soon as the election is over, when the election is over, we will stop seeing so many advertisements for candidates. And remember that if the dependent clause comes at the beginning of a sentence, we put a comma after it. If the dependent clause comes at the end of a sentence, we don't need the comma. So, we can say, as soon as the election is over, we will stop seeing so many advertisements for candidates. We will stop seeing so many advertisements for candidates as soon as the election is over. Until means as long as soon as means right after. That's all we need to remember. And if you remember that, you'll never make a mistake when you use until and as long as. So you want to practice that? Shall we practice it? We need this. We need this book. Yeah, we need this book. And this one will be. We're going to look on page 60. We're going to look on page 60, and I'll do the first one. What we're doing is we're reading a sentence, and then we're going to just redo the sentence. Yeah, this one here, number 4, page 60. Page 60, 60. Looks like this. And I'll do the first one. Mr. Shamash is in pain. When will he start to feel better? Okay, so then I'm looking at B9. He will feel better as soon as he takes his medication. In other words, he will feel better right after he takes his medication. As soon as means right after. So let's start with number 2. Pew, would you start number 2, and then we'll take turns going around?
How long will